In this video, we're going to give you a guide to working with the 2D view in Aspire. The 2D view is where you're going to draw, lay out and position different entities essentially in the XY plane, so basically to position them before you may go ahead and model or machine something. There are three main types of data that you'll come across in the 2D view. Vectors, which is what I have on the screen now, and I can click and select here. Also grayscale previews for the 3D components and bitmap data. And we'll deal with the grayscale previews and the bitmaps a little bit later on in this video. There are various controls to help us move around the 2D view and to see exactly what we want to see within it. Some of the basic controls are over here under 2D view control. If we click on the first of these, the pan view, and select that, now when I click in the 2D view and drag the mouse, it'll allow me to move around and pan to different areas of the job. If I want to go back and fit that into my screen area again, we can click on this icon here to zoom to fit, and the keyboard shortcut for that is F on the keyboard, the letter F, and that can be very useful if you lose control of the view and need to get it back to its original position. While we're in pan mode, it'll remain in that way, and you can see the cursor has got this four-way arrow. To exit out of that, I would just come over and click on the arrow for selection mode. The second icon under 2D view control lets you zoom to a dragged box. So if I want to select that, I can click and drag a box, and that'll help me to zoom in on a specific area if I want to see something in particular. If we hit F again to fit this back. Another useful tool is the ability to zoom to a selected object. So if I wanted to see this star, I can click it, come over to zoom selected, and that's going to zoom right in on whatever type of object I have selected. As well as using these control icons, I can also zoom into an area by using the wheel on the mouse if your mouse has one. It'll zoom in wherever the cursor position is when you start to turn the wheel. So if I come down to where we've got the 2 here and I roll my mouse wheel away from myself, then it's going to zoom in. If I roll the mouse wheel back towards myself, it will zoom out again. And it's always going to zoom in where the cursor is, as I can see there if I show you that in a couple of different places. Now, at the beginning of this guide, I talked about the fact there were other types of entities that we're likely to see in the 2D view. One of those is the grayscale preview for the components. Let's go ahead and use the icon here to tile the windows vertically so we can see the 2D and the 3D view for a moment. Come onto the modeling tab, and I'm just going to switch on the components here so that they're visible. You can see as soon as I do that, I see them in the 3D view, but also as regards to the 2D view, I see this grayscale preview here. And as we switch those on, we can see the different grayscale previews appearing for each of those different components. Within the 2D view, I can click on those in order to select the components, and as I do that, you'll see they also highlight in the component tree and over here in the 3D view as well. Let's now switch off those components and just maximize our 2D view again and show you the other type of data entity. If we click on the drawing tab, I can come up to import bitmap. I'm going to click on here, and this will let me load a raster based image such as a bitmap, JPEG, GIF or TIFF. This could be a digital photo, or it could be an image from the internet or from another drawing program, or it could even be something that you've sketched on a piece of paper and scanned in using a flatbed scanner. If I click on this JPEG I've got here and we hit open, it will import that into the software. I can select it, move it around much as I can other entities within here. When I deselect it, you'll notice that that becomes faded out, and that's so it's easier for me to see other objects that may be over the top of it. If I want, I can change that fading when it's not selected. I just click on it, right mouse click, go to object properties, and we can change how faded that object will be when it's not selected. And that can help me in order to display the information within it, but still fade it a little bit to allow me perhaps to use this in order to trace vectors over the top of. Now, as you saw there, another feature of the 2D view is the ability to right mouse click in order to get up a context sensitive menu. What I'm referring to when I call it context sensitive is the fact that the menu that you get will depend upon the entity you have selected and where the cursor is over that entity. For instance, there with the bitmap selected and the right mouse click, I get choices that are relevant to that, plus a lot of standard choices such as cut, copy, paste, delete, etc. If I have a vector selected and I right mouse click over it, I'm going to get a slightly different selection which is pertinent to that object. And if the vector is in node editing mode, which I can get into by hitting N on the keyboard, so that I'm actually at a position where I can individually edit the parts of the vector, then the menu I get is going to depend whether I'm over one of the nodes. So if I right mouse click with the cursor there, you can see I get a very specific menu that's relevant to that position and the data. Or if I select it and I'm over one of the spans, which is the line in between the nodes, and I right mouse click, I get a different menu that's available to me, again that's relevant to being in that position and over that type of selected data in the node editing mode. You can see in these right mouse click menus there are often letters which are on the right hand side of the menu associated with the command, and all of these are shortcut keys that I can use in lieu of right mouse clicking and coming into the menu. For instance, in here you can see if I want to delete something, I hit D. I can show you that now by clicking here, coming over the span here and hit D on the keyboard, and it's going to delete it. That's how the shortcut keys work that you see within those right mouse click menus. There are some other features of the 2D view that will help you to lay out your project or to draw vectors. We have the rules that are giving me an idea of the size of the part here, but if I click on those at the top or the left hand side, I can drag down in order to create a guideline, and the guideline can be used to help me locate something or to snap to. If I want to get up specific properties for a guideline, then I just hover the cursor over it and right mouse click to bring up the guide properties that allow me to edit the specific position of that and create new parallel guides if I want. Another tool that helps me to locate, position and draw items in the 2D view is the snap grid. If we come up to edit and down to snap options, you can see here I have the ability to control my snap options within the software, and also if I check this option to switch on snap to grid, I'm going to be able to specify a grid spacing, and now I have this snap grid, and if I wanted to do something like draw a polyline, then it's going to specifically snap to these points and make it very easy for me to draw shapes based on that grid. So there you've seen a quick guide to the 2D view, some of the things you can expect to see in it and some of the tools that are available there.